we're gonna start in a few seconds. You guys can hop into the study for now. There's a puzzle there, so everyone can start thinking about what to do in the puzzle. Just making sure I'm screen sharing the study right now, right? Just making sure I'm sharing the right thing.
Yeah.
All right. You guys can also hop onto the study and start working on the puzzle.
Are we like allowed to control the screen or do we type in the chat?
So you have a few options. So this is a pretty difficult one. So if you want, you can move pieces around to see what to do. Just try to give each other turns so you don't move on top of each other. But yeah, you can move around the pieces. All right, so the variation of queen takes f8. Um, White would probably just take here, so you can't just give him bad moves. Just a quick tip. This puzzle, I don't remember the exact amount of moves it is. Let me think. Yeah, this puzzle is only like 3 or 4 moves, and you get checkmate at the end of it. So think about ways you could use your pieces to attack the king. Okay, so a few things we should take note of in this puzzle. What would happen if the knight wasn't here? If the knight wasn't here, what would we be able to do? And then once you see what you can do without the knight, think about how you can get rid of the knight. All right, so think about, actually give me one sec. Okay, so here we're gonna look at what would happen if the knight wasn't here, okay? Just tell me what you would do if the knight wasn't there.
Queen to f2.
Okay, and after queen to f2, what would you play after the king moves to h1?
Rook to e1.
All right, that works, but also queen to f1 would also work. You would just checkmate on the back rank. So now that we know what we would do if the knight was gone, how are we gonna get rid of the knight? Jonathan, can you go on to the study? Jonathan, do you have the link for the study, or do you know how to get there? All right, so Jonathan, in this puzzle, we're playing black, and we want to checkmate the king as fast as possible.
Okay.
Right, so we've identified, Ali identified that if we don't have the knight, we can go queen to f2 and then f1 check, leading to checkmate. So how can we get rid of this knight? Or we don't have to necessarily take it, we could distract it. All right, so that's one method, but the knight doesn't have to take. You can, but we have a way to force the knight to take. So instead of just giving the option to take, we can make it so white has to use their knight to do something. Now just finish it off. Yep. All right. So very good job. The key to this puzzle is first identifying like the queen f2, queen f1 idea, and then identifying that rook to e1 would deflect the knight, and therefore let you do the queen f2, queen f1 idea. Okay, so now we're gonna do a puzzle racer, right, to practice our puzzle skills, and then we're gonna analyze some games. So I'm gonna set in the link in the study chat and in the Zoom chat. All right, everybody join the race. We're waiting for Jonathan. Jonathan, can you join the puzzle racer? Okay. What did we get last time? I think people got 9 and 10. I think we should try to get a bit higher this time, maybe 11 or 12, right? All right, Bruce. Right now we're in the middle of something called a puzzle racer. I will send you the link after we finish it. Okay, so Jonathan got 10. Very good job. Jonathan, I think this is a new high for you. Bruce, in the chat of this study, I sent a link. Could you click on the link, please? I'll send it again just in case it didn't load for you. Oh, actually, it's a different link now. Never mind. Yeah, I sent a new link. Try to join that. Bruce, do you have the link?
Yes.
All right. Maybe you're not logged into Lichess, but try to get into the game.
I'm logged in.
All right. So do you have the link for the puzzle racer? I guess you don't. I'm gonna send it to you real quick. Don't worry. So in the top right of your screen, you should have just gotten like a little icon on the bell because I just sent you a message. Click on that link. Should be entered into the game. Okay. So just giving you a rough overview of what this is. it's gonna give you a bunch of puzzles, and you try to solve them as fast as possible. I think you have around, I think it's a minute and a half or something you have to do it, and you want to get as high of a score as possible. Hopefully you can, well, recently, Jonathan just got a score of 10 last game, which is pretty good. Try to aim for stuff like that. And whoever has the option to start, you can click start. I think I joined. Okay, good. All right, very good job by Bruce. 16, very impressive. All right, click join rematch. We're just gonna keep doing this for a few minutes, practice our puzzles. Jonathan, good job on 11. Jonathan, we're waiting on you. Okay, whoever has the start option, you can click on start. Good job, Rain, on getting 9. Whoever has the start button, just go ahead and start. We're dropping a bit, only getting 8s. Good job, Ali, on 11. Good job, Bruce, on 9. Good job to Ali and Bruce, tying for 13. Very good. I think that's a pretty good score. One more, and then we're gonna start moving on to the games. Rain, yeah. Whoever can start, go ahead. All right, good job. Actually, yeah, no more puzzle racers. Sorry for the rematch. Uh, Rain, it's all right. Rain, it's fine. We're not gonna do this anymore. We're gonna move on to games. So internet won't be that much of a problem because making moves doesn't need the internet, except for the actual input. Um, good job on Ali for the 12, and yeah. So I think Bruce got a 15, which is very impressive. Yeah, we're gonna try to hit maybe 20 next class. We're making great progress. For now, we're going to pair off into games. Uh, just going by these pairings. Rain is going to play Jonathan, and then Bruce is going to play Ali. So in the puzzle racer, just look at the person who's right next to you. At the bottom, you should be able to just click on someone's profile, and then click on the 2 swords, and then challenge them to a game. Just repeating once again, Ali and Bruce, and then Jonathan and Rain. Pair off and start playing. Oh, this is interesting. Jonathan and Rain, you two actually have a game going on right now from last class, remember? Because Jonathan had to go. Um, if you guys want, you could make a new game, or you can continue with this one. Up to you. But just start playing the game nevertheless. All right, Allie. So what Bruce is currently playing against you is called the fried liver attack. I just want to go over a few things about the fried liver attack. Um, Number one, Bruce, you have to play it early. You have to play Bishop C4 at move 3, because if you play Knight to C3, basically you're taking too much time. And if you take too much time, right now she can just castle, and once she castles, your entire attack is gone. The point of the fried liver, the attack that you're trying to do, I think I know what you're trying to do, right? You're getting the fork on F7 double attack. The problem is if she just castles now, there's no threat, right? So you have to play this really early before she can castle. So before she moves her bishop out, that's the key. Because once she moves her bishop out, she can castle and therefore stop your threat. Yeah, so now you've kind of just moved your knight for nothing. The fried liver attack is a very good attack, right? I think it's a good idea for you to keep playing it, right? It's really good at early levels because most people don't know how to play against it. But what you have to keep in mind is you play knight to f3 and then bishop to c4. You don't move your knight to c3 at any point because that's just too slow and it's wasting your time. All right, Ali, that's a bit aggressive, but you have to make sure when you make an attack that your attack is supported.
I misclicked on that.
If you want, you can send a take back. Looks are fine. Rain and Jonathan, Rain, you gotta play slower and make sure your pieces aren't just lost. All right, so Bruce, I want you to think about an idea. Um, the idea is your knight is attacking his bishop, but his knight is defending. So how could you get rid of? Oh, not his. Sorry, Ali. But her knight is defending her bishop. So how can you get rid of that knight? An idea for Ali. Um, Bruce's queen is, you're attacking it a lot, which is great. And from here, it doesn't have that many options. So after the queen moves, you might want to try to reroute some of your pieces to go attack it. Go attack it. All right, very good job, Ali. Because if you didn't play that, Bruce had a b4 idea, pawn to b4, and after pawn to b4, your knight is forced to move, and after your knight moves, he would have been able to get your bishop. But now by playing that pawn move, you strengthen your pawn chain and get rid of his knight, which is very good. All right, Allie. You have to really watch Bruce's bishop because look how much stuff it just gobbled. All right, you got to be very careful of that. Jonathan and Rain, you guys have to develop your pieces. Rain, both of your knights and your rook are kind of doing nothing. Jonathan, your queen is great, but your rooks are just sitting at their home squares.
You just can't do anything. God can't move that they're not doing anything.
Well, you could start moving your rooks out. Right now, they're not doing anything, but you can make them do stuff. For example, what could you do? You could move your rooks to e8 and d8 and help control the middle files, right? There's actually lots of stuff you can do with them. Yeah, exactly. You just have to move them to good squares. All right, so both of these games are pretty one-sided now. Um, so both people who, because like checkmate is imminent in both of these games. So if you want, if you're really losing in your game, you can just resign and then rematch, play a second game. Some big things to take note are move slower, right? We've only been playing these games 15 minutes maybe, and a lot of people in those 7.5 minutes that they used, they've lost a lot. Yeah, Jonathan and Rain, good job. Just make a new game. Um, yeah, stuff like that. Ali, yeah, you do have to play a second game because we got time for it and we're gonna analyze both of them. Something important that we should do is with these second games, we're gonna switch our colors. Lichess should do that automatically, but I just want to see what people play with both colors. Ali and Bruce, ideally, can you guys hit the rematch button? Because if you re-challenge, the colors might be the same, and we want to switch colors. All right, Ali, quick thing. When you play the queen's pawn opening, with d4, knight to c3 isn't played that often, right? The reasoning for that is because, I'm actually gonna check exactly how often it's played. But let's see, after d4, d5, yeah, knight c3 is not a popular move. Yeah, it's been played less than like 5% of the time. The reasoning for that is because it doesn't really do anything, right? It attacks the d5 pawn, but like that pawn's sufficiently defended. It's better to play something else, like maybe g3 as you played, which is good. But yeah, there's other options. All right, Rain. I don't know why you played f3. It's a really bad move because Jonathan, as you just saw, will take advantage of it immediately, and now you have to move your king. Right? It's just not good. Don't play stuff like that. Okay, Jonathan, a few things. First of all, you don't have to move. Right now, you're attacking with one piece at a time, okay? And if you attack with one piece at a time, it's just not a good idea, right? You got to keep attacking, right? With multiple different pieces. Like, look at this. You're just moving your knight. Move some more pieces. Move your other knight. Move d6 and then move your bishop out. Move your queen out, right? You got to attack with all your pieces. Also, just because you can take a piece doesn't mean you have to take it. Just because a trade is even doesn't mean it's good, right? You want to make trades that are advantageous. For example, when you traded your bishop for his knight, your bishop is attacking. It's good. His knight is like blocked in at dormant, right? Why would you take it? It's not a good trade. Even though they're worth the same amount, they're not actually good. Rain, you really need to develop your pieces and then hide your king because you're getting attacked on every single move. All right, Jonathan, you're doing a very good job mobilizing your pieces. Rain, rooks in general are a late game piece, right? Rooks are not moved until the late game, so I don't know why you decided to move your rook at. That was very risky. What's important now is you defend your king side, so you have to move your knight and your bishop over, right, to help defend. But other than that, you're doing well. All right, Ali, what you just played with c4 is very good. It's called a pawn break, right? And you want to open up the position. The one problem with the pawn break is that normally in a pawn break, the goal is to open up a side, right? Right now you're trying to open up the queen side, and opening up the queen side is not inherently a bad idea. But the problem in this case is that you are not prepared for the queen side to open, because once it opens, you don't really have many pieces there. What you should do is bring your rooks to like the D and C files or the C and B files. So after the queen side opens, you can do all sorts of attacking. Okay, Ali. It's a very good idea to move your rooks out, right? So if your position, if having your rooks out is good, but if you moved your queen, rook, and rook, if you shifted the whole thing over to the C and B files, I would like it much more, right? Because right now you just have these very powerful weapons pointed at Bruce's side. The problem is your D pawn and E pawn kind of just block it, so they're not really doing anything. You should try to move them to somewhere where they are doing stuff, like the open C file. Meanwhile, Bruce, right? See, Bruce, good job. The D file is open, so you take advantage of it. Stuff like that is great. Also, your rook on B8 is playing very passively. It's guarding the B7 pawn. You might want to defend your B7 pawn in a different way. That way you can be free to maneuver your other piece around. All right, so Bruce, I think the problem that happened in your position, besides the fact that, your knight's kind of just under attack, but, you can just move your knight out of there. The problem is that your rooks are much weaker than Ali's, and Ali is able to just pummel you with them. So I think you gotta try very fast to move your rooks to better squares so you can actually take advantage of the board. Once again, Jonathan and Rain, right? Games like this, you don't really have a chance of winning once you have 0 pieces. So, you could just resign to just like save some time. Ali and Bruce, your game is still fine. You guys can continue playing, of course. Okay, so first of all, now that everyone's finished their games, Jonathan and Rain, uh, the ending was a bit anticlimactic. Jonathan, that was a stalemate. So I guess me telling Rain to resign was a bit was a bad idea because it ended up being a stalemate. So you gotta be more careful and then make sure White always has places to move so you don't just so you can actually have your win. Ali and Bruce, I think your game started to go downhill after the queen was blundered, I believe. Yeah, well, not necessarily a blunder, but Bruce found that nice pattern with so after queen to a1, rook down to b1 is the best move. After rook down to b1, the queen is kind of just blocked, and then you can survive another day, and you're up a bishop as well, which is great. But if you sacrifice your queen, you just get checkmated. So that's not great. Jonathan and Rain are still playing a game. Okay, interesting. All right, so what we are going to check out now is I think we are going to quickly look over. I think Ali and Bruce's second game was really nice. So if you want to head over to the study, yeah. Okay, we are waiting for I think Rain's having some Wi-Fi problems, so it's fine. We start without him. Oh, never mind, he's on. Bruce, could you go on to the study?
How do I do it?
All right, I will. Do you want me to send you a link?
Yeah.
Wait, I sent one to Rain instead of you. Wait, what am I doing? Okay, here. Yeah, this is the study link. Sent it to, should be in the top right area. Okay, great. So right now we're gonna look at the game between Ali and Bruce. We started this game with d4. I'm gonna, yeah, d5, knight to c3, knight to f6. So here immediately we are gonna look at something. Ali, what were you trying to do with knight to c3? What was your goal? Okay. You forgot. All right. Well, the point is of knight to c3, the general idea would kind of to be to attack this pawn, right? That seems like the immediate idea, but the queen defends it, so it's kind of just pointless, right? And there's no other way to attack it. It's not like you can build up pressure. There might be, like, if they play c6, there is e5, e4 ideas, right? Where we got this weird Sicilian thing. But the move that Bruce played, knight to f6, stops all of those ideas immediately by keeping a firm grip. So both the e4 and d5 both have two people defending them. So knight to c3 is your first mistake, right? It's not that great. Instead, you have a ton of options. The most popular is the Queen's Gambit. The idea of the Queen's Gambit is after pawn takes, you play e4, and then you're going to take this pawn right back. So like you lose a pawn, but you're going to get it back pretty much immediately. So it doesn't really matter. And meanwhile, the next popular move is knight to f3. That's just like, you know, building up some defense and then preparing some more ideas. You also have bishop to f4 called the London system. And then we also have, you know, just simple e3 or, you know, other moves. But knight to c3 is not the best move. Moving on, we have knight to f6, g3. Now g3 is it's a weird move. I see the idea you're trying to fianchetto and then keep attacking this pawn. But black has some strong ideas here because you're playing very passively, right? Your knight to c3 move didn't actually attack anything. So that's kind of just development, but you're not attacking anything. Meanwhile, g3 is just a pawn move. So meanwhile, here Bruce could take advantage and then start attacking you immediately, doing all sorts of attacks. So moving on, Bruce decided to play passively as well, knight to c6. a general rule of thumb for d4 openings, when the queen pawns are like this, you very often are going to want to move your c pawns to here, right? It is actually a common position for, 1 second. This is actually a common variation, right? Where we end up having 4 pawns all next to each other. And the thing that you have to take away from this is that you are going to want to move your c pawn to c4 or c5 very often. So knight to c6 and knight to c3 both kind of block that pawn from advancing. So try not to move your knights here too early. Move them here after the pawn has moved, or move the knights to here. Going on, we have bishop to g2, fianchetto, very strong. E6 defends. Now, once again, this is the same idea as moving your knight to here. You are doing something, right? In the case of knight to c6 and knight to c3, you are attacking a pawn. In the case of e6, you are defending a pawn. But the problem comes when you realize that there's a bad side to this. If you move your pawn here, your bishop can't come out anymore because the pawn's in the way. So move order is important. You might want to move your bishop out and then now play e6. Now, this is actually a very strong position. But if you play e6 immediately, you're blocking your bishop in, and you're kind of forced to develop it this way, but then it's just looking at this pawn. So b3, double fianchetto, I see. Bishop to d6, bishop b2, castles, bishop f6, bishop d7, e3. So, Bruce, where are you trying to put your knight? I noted you play f5 actually. Yeah, knight to f5. That's a very good idea. Yeah, it's a very strong idea, moving your knight to there. All right, this is the first mistake by Bruce. We just have knight takes b5 here. So yeah, you just gotta, whenever you make a move, just be careful that you don't lose it. But so yeah, look at this, 10 moves and no one's blown through. Yeah, pretty impressive. Bishop to b4. G4 attacks. Knight goes here. Bruce loses another piece. Yeah, I think you could have just backed up here. But I think we have to come back in this game if I remember correctly. Yeah, so here, bishop takes. So we are gonna have to analyze some captures, right? So whenever your opponent plays a move, I want you to think to yourself, what is my opponent trying to do? When Bruce plays queen to e7, Ali should be thinking, oh, he has this battery. Now, if I do nothing, let's just say she does something dumb, he will win a piece, right? And so it is Ali's job to stop that. And the way she can stop it is by moving her knight away. Or what else can she do? Yeah, that's pretty much the only option. Yeah, that's the only option. But the point is, when your opponent makes a move, you have to think, what is that move doing, and how can I stop their idea? If the idea is to take your knight, then you got to save your knight. Here the knight is just lost, so Ali is only up a single piece now. Now we have avoiding g6, f takes. F takes is very strong because now you have this open f file. Good job. We have c4, a pawn break. D takes, knight takes, knight takes. It might be a better idea to play b takes. I'm not completely sure though. Yeah, b takes is considerably better actually. Yeah, because after b takes, your idea can be to move your pieces to these squares and then start pushing this pawn forward. But knight takes is not bad. We have queen here. All right, so Ali, why didn't you take? You have a free knight here, right? You just take the knight. Because, after knight takes your knight, you got to take it back. After you take here, you're winning. But if you move here instead, the knight escapes and everything's good. Bruce moves his knight to b6. Now, d6 is better than b6 because on the square of d6, it can defend the pawn. On the square of b6, the pawn is going to get taken by the bishop. So here, Ali could have taken your bishop, but luckily she didn't. So the better move would have been to defend it while saving your knight. And of course, all of this could have been avoided if the knight was simply taken. Moving on, we have rook to d1, defending it. Now, here we're going to learn something about defense, right? When you defend a piece, you want to defend it in a very, very strong and powerful way, right? For example, you could play c6, therefore blocking the bishop. Ooh, someone's going crazy. Who's going crazy? I don't know what just happened. Someone went crazy. I don't know what just happened. Jonathan, yeah, I think you might be leaning on your keyboard or something because everything's moving. Let's move over to c6. So c6 is powerful because the bishop is now attacking, this is no longer attacking b7, it's attacking c6, and c6 is of course defended. So this is an aggressive way of defending. It's very strong. You also could have played knight to d5, right? You're blocking, and if she takes, then you end up with a strong pawn in the center. The point is, you want to defend in a strong way, not by moving your rook back. Now your rook's only job is just to stare at this pawn. Your rook's doing nothing. It's just staring at a pawn. Instead, you want to play something strong. Make a strong pawn structure. Everything's defended. Look at this. Amazing. But we have rook to b8, rook to e1, rook to d8. Now here, Bruce, what are your open files? Your open files are the D file and the F file, because the other files have pawns on them, right? So you want to have one rook on each of these files. The problem with moving this rook here is, of course, you lose the pawn. So what you should be trying to do is you should be thinking to yourself, I want my rooks on the files. And what that means is I want my rook on b8 to go to d8. But there's a problem. My b7 pawn is undefended, so I must defend it. And you would play c6, and if Ali did nothing, then you can move your rook here. And look at this, you got two strong rooks now, and your pawn is defended. So that should be your way of formulating plans. We have rook to fe1. You move this rook here, which isn't horrible. Rook to b1. I told Ali to start moving her rooks over, and she starts doing it. Knight to a4 is kind of a crazy move, because now the knight's just hanging. I don't know what's going on here. Look at this. Finally, it's taken here. Kind of ridiculous. All right, whatever, though. Let's stay back here. Knight to a4. I see the idea. You want to go for a fork. And she kind of stops it immediately. But before you look at your own ideas, before you play your own ideas, you got to think, how could they go wrong? And she could just take here, which would be an easy win for her. But luckily, she moves her other rook here. You know, I think she was tunnel visioning. So that's another important thing. When you have a goal, both of you did this, you cannot just do your goal. You have to think about what your opponent could also do and then factor that into your goal. That applies to both of you. Bruce's goal was to fork here. And so he's like, oh, let's move my knight like this. Okay, that would be a fork. However, because he was tunnel visioning, he didn't realize that once he moves his knight here, the pawn just takes. Meanwhile, if he had thought about that and realizes the pawn takes, he could have played knight to here, the exact same threat. And if Ali does nothing, then he gets a fork, right? So that's how you got to make your plans. You got to think, what can my opponent do and how can I stop them? Meanwhile, Ali's plan, I remember in this position, I told her while she was playing that she should move her entire structure over a few squares because that would mean she can have a stronger attack on the B and C files. And so her plan was, hey, I'm going to move all of my pieces over to the left. And the problem is, while she was doing that, she kind of forgot she could just straight up take a piece. And now she realizes there's a free pawn. Very good. She finally takes the free piece. Gobble, 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 gobble. Here, the queen is just hanging, right? You got to be careful about stuff like this. Luckily, he takes the pawn, and then we have this battery. And then here is the loss of the game, pretty much, which is pretty sad, honestly. We have the rook blocking off the escape squares. This is called weaving a mating net. And then after queen here, the rook can just defend, which would be like very easy. But Ali blundered, play queen here, and then we have checkmate. So the conclusion of this game, some things I want you to take away. I'm going to type them in chat, right? Some things we should realize from this game. First of all, oh, yeah, Bruce? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so in this position, it's actually completely winning for white right here. I'm using the engine for this. I can't actually figure this out on my own, but it's winning in 9 moves actually. White plays here, and no matter what, black's gonna win. So if black doesn't, so right now the threat is takes here. So all black can do really is delay the inevitable. So like a check, I take, and it's really just being annoying. Let's see if the rook goes here-ish maybe, and we would just have checkmate, right? So the way you have to stop this is by blocking in between. And so after check, we can block, takes, check, king up. If pawn goes back down, then we have checkmate here. So now the king goes up again. We have check here anyways. And we have checkmate. So white was completely winning, as Bruce pointed out. And what we gotta conclude from this game is when you have a plan, don't just do the plan without sorry, I'm in this. Yeah, so we saw that in both Bruce and Ali's plans. They just lost their own pieces because they were just busy trying to execute their plan. Meanwhile, another problem we noticed was after your opponent plays a move, you have to see what they are trying to do. For example, back in this position, we Bruce made the plan of this battery, and then Ali ignored it, and then she ended up losing a piece from it. Also, of course, just don't blunder your pieces, right? Those one move little losing your pieces are obviously not good. That's going to be it for this class. For homework last time, I believe it was checkmate patterns 2, and was that it? Checkmate patterns 2? I don't completely remember. Regardless, what I want for homework today is checkmate patterns. I want the first 4 boxes to all be done, right? We did these 2 last class or 2 classes ago, so these 2 should be done, but if they're not, just finish them up. And checkmate patterns 2 and 3, I want you guys to start working on those. This should be done from the last class, I'm pretty sure. With that all out the way, I think the class is over. Have a great week, everyone.